Being a dad isn't always easy, but it's the best thing I ever did. I'm constantly improving myself to be the best dad I can be through fitness, nutrition, mindset, and lifestyle. As fathers, we pass on many things to our children, such as our mindset, our habits, our attitude, and what we've learned along the way. Each of these will shape who our children are and who they will become. The Warrior Dad's mission is to help you become the healthiest version of yourself, to hone your edge, and to live with purpose. My name is Jim Bertamy, and this is the Warrior Dads Podcast. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Warrior Dads Podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dave Lasnier, spelled Lasnier. I'm glad I asked him about it before I just did the intro. Dave is the owner of Laser Fit in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He has worked in the fitness industry for the past 11 plus years and has worked with a wide variety of clients, ranging all the way from obese and inactive people all the way to professional athletes. Working with such a diverse clientele, Dave has a very good understanding of the needs of the person in front of him and adapts the program to them. So I'm really, really happy to have him on the show because we're going to get in some really good conversation about having some patience, being consistent, not going for just a really, really short while and then falling off the wagon. And he's going to give people some information of what they can do to sustain their progress in fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, etc. In the long run. So Dave, thanks so much for being on the show.
Hey, Jim, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Pleasure. So Dave, give everybody a little bit of a background about yourself and just, kind of your expertise in the health and fitness field, and we'll go from there, man.
Yeah, sure. Grew up a pretty active kid, played a lot of different sports, was never a high-level athlete in anyone in particular, but I really enjoyed trying new things, playing different sports. So I bounced around a lot, tried pretty much everything. So I didn't really have a high-level career past the high school level. So went to college, got my degree in kinesiology. And that's also about the time when I started working out, hitting the gym, all that stuff. And I found a true passion for that and wanting to help people get better through exercise, through fitness and health and nutrition. So that's kind of how my career got started. So early on in my career, I was working in commercial gyms as a personal trainer and help a ton of people that way. A lot of times to lose weight, that's what we see in just the general gym setting. And, I was enjoying it, but I also had in the back of my mind always the goal to work with athletes. And there wasn't too much of that. I grew up in Montreal, Canada. So there wasn't a ton of opportunities in terms of training athletes, either in the private sector or even at the college level. It was very minimal, the opportunities that we could find up there. So, I started branching out through continuing education stuff, through books and DVDs, and going to seminars, going to the US, oftentimes in New York and Boston for different seminars, and connected with some people. And in 2010 ended up in South Jersey for an internship with a company called Endeavor. And then they ended up hiring me, worked there for a couple of years, and then got an opportunity to work in professional baseball with the Arizona Diamondbacks in the minor league system for a couple of years as a strength and conditioning coach.
Nice.
And then came back to that facility in South Jersey after a couple of years. That was a really great experience in pro baseball. The lifestyle was just so rough, and I was in my 30s, about to get married, and my wife knew we wanted to have kids pretty early after getting married. So I was like, there's no way I can do this lifestyle while having kids and being present for my kids. So that just I'm like, all right, well, I'll do it for a couple of seasons, and then I'll go back to something different and something that's a little more stable in terms of schedule, in terms of being in the same location year round. So did that. And then last year started my own company, Laser Fit Training. I have a bunch of personal training clients. I've some professional hockey players I train in the summer while they're home from their season. And I am the performance coordinator for baseball PDS right outside of Philadelphia. And that's my main my main gig right now. So I've always kind of been super passionate about training, fitness, nutrition, health, helping people get better. And I've kind of been doing that through all different sort of settings that I've been working in since I got started in the industry.
Yeah, that's quite a resume, man. So you're training professional athletes when they come back, and other than that, you're working with more like minor league people or high school athletes, things like that.
Yeah, through that baseball PDS company, we train
Hmm.
a lot of high school athletes during the fall, winter, until it's springtime when they go play ball. And then in the summer, we have a ton of, the same high school kids, but then we have a ton of college players as well. And then during the winter months, we have a few minor league players who are in this area and that we work with.
Nice, nice. So you mentioned you were starting a family. How many kids do you have now?
Two young kids, two young boys, three, just about to turn three in a couple of weeks, and my youngest one is 1.5, and we have a third one on the way.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
When are you due?
Due by December 29.
Oh, okay. So it's coming up.
Yeah, real fast actually.
Yeah, I can't believe actually how fast the time is going. It's almost, in 1 month it'll be Halloween, so
I know, right? It's crazy.
yeah. Awesome, man. So we're talking today about, yeah, and I think this is, we're talking about how time's flying. We're talking about December. Right after that's January. So it's kind of fitting for anyone who's listening to this and going to be setting some New Year's resolutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're talking about how we can not go crazy for just a short while and then fall off the wagon, right?
Yep.
And this is super, super common in our industry, right? In the health and fitness and wellness space. You see it at New Year's, and then March, it's like
Mm-hmm.
starts
Yeah.
to like
Yep.
die down, right? And so what do you think is the biggest contribution to that? And what's the biggest message that you say, or if someone says to you, Dave, how do I not just fall off the wagon? What are some things I can do to be consistent, and how do I implement patience and all that kind of stuff? What's something that you would say to that person?
It's in a way, it's a bit weird to say that, but like sometimes we just need to put the brakes on people. When like you said, like in those times of the year when New Year comes around and people are super motivated and they want to lose weight or whatever other goals they might have.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they just want to go all out. They want to start a new diet, start a super intense workout regimen. They want to go all in. And a lot of times it's like almost putting a damper on their excitement, but I feel like we need to bring them back to reality in the sense that yes, if you start a diet and you go all out and crazy workout program 5-6 times a week or whatever it might be, you're going to see results. You're going to see results fast. But the problem with that is, number one, it's really, really difficult to sustain in the long run. Pretty much impossible, actually. And I've seen very few people through the years having those, those motivations and being able to sustain that in the long run. So a lot of times, like they'll do it for 1, 2, 3, 4 months maybe, and all of a sudden it's like they're exhausted, and it's just so hard to manage those this time commitment to eating super healthy and doing a lot in terms of training and working out, with combining that with the stress of real life, being able to go through your work days and the family life and the kids and all that stuff. It's a lot, right? So yes, people would see results from doing that, and oftentimes they do. But what I tell them is, so what's going to happen in 3 months from now? What do you want? Do you want to be able to sustain this for a year, 2 years, for multiple years? Because in the end, I'm sure that's the goal for everybody, right? They want to lose weight and they want to be able to keep it off. And if they don't, they go with the approach of all in. That's not going to work that way. They're going to fall off the wagon, and all of a sudden, like next thing you know, they're not doing anything anymore. They're not focusing on their diet. They're just eating whatever. They're completely off the working out wagon, and they're back to square one. So they're regaining all the weight, and a lot of times they're slowing their metabolism through that, which kind of sets them back actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But
so a lot of times,
I think that going all in is, I think just the idea of going all in, just like mentally, when you're saying that, because when I think of going all in, I'm thinking like, all right, I'm committed to doing something, right? I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I
mm-hmm,
feel like that's the mentality that you have to have. But I think it's maybe just the tactics or burning yourself out. So maybe it's not going all in on the diet, but maybe it's the diet itself, because it's not, maybe like you're saying, it's not sustainable. So
yeah,
depending on what kind
absolutely,
of quote
yep,
unquote diet they're doing, then keto is really big right now. A
mm-hmm,
lot of people are
yep,
talking about keto, but then you have the other people that are out there. They're saying, well, keto's good, but you don't have to be in ketosis all the time, or you could just do the low carb diet and still get really, really good results.
mm-hmm,
So, but if you think of like, all right, well, I'm going to do keto and I'm going to keep myself in ketosis the entire time, instead of just like a few weeks here and there, or whatever it
yeah,
is, then you're going on. I mean, some people say less than 50 grams of carbs. Some people say less than 30 grams of carbs. Like, you know, I also have a hard time with my background thinking of one particular diet like that, like the ketogenic diet, and just putting everybody in a box and say every single person would benefit from doing
oh,
this
absolutely,
all the time.
absolutely,
You know what I
yep,
mean? And I think any time in anything that we say that this is the right thing to do for every single person,
mm-hmm,
it's a little bit of a red flag should go up, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's not like saying like every single person on the planet needs to drink water, like obviously, because that's what the human body is designed to drink. So it's not
right.
like that wouldn't be the best example, but just putting every single person in a box, I don't think is good. But I like the idea of going all in, but maybe it's just they need to space it out a little bit more, or at least just look at the protocol and see what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I agree totally, and I do think that mindset is super important. Like you're saying, to what I was meaning by all in was more like going all in all the strategies you can use in terms of diet and in terms of exercise to throw yourself at all those things at the same time, and doing probably too much for what's sustainable for yourself. But I do agree that in terms of mindset, you do have to be all in and be focused on what you're doing, and what your goal is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you don't have to go to the gym for an hour and a half, 5, 6
Mm-hmm.
days a week. You know what I mean? That
Yep.
would be in excess, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've even
Mm-hmm.
heard, people like Charles Poliquin, famous Canadian strength coach. You know who
Mm-hmm.
he is?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, he says, the average person basically just needs 4 hours of exercise a week. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can get really, really, really good results if you have a good solid 4 hours of training in every
Yeah.
single week. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
when you think of it like that, and you think of how many hours are in the week, uh, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I just don't know that people realize that. I think a lot of people think that they have to go to the extreme and do more than that.
Yeah. Have you ever seen where you actually had to scale back how much somebody was doing to get them better results?
Um, yeah, I've seen that, and I see that with the athletes I train a lot of times. It's funny working with athletes. Somebody would think that those guys are all super motivated and they're all super focused on their workout and their nutrition and all that stuff. But the reality is that you're dealing with human beings and human behavior just as much as when you're working with, the mothers or the dads out there who just wants to stay healthy and stay fit. You have individuals that are more motivated than others, and some of them that are going to want to go all out on everything, and other people that will just need more motivation. So, yeah, sometimes you do have to do that with athletes, and sometimes it's not. I don't always succeed, to be honest, in terms of putting the brakes on them, because they just want to do everything. They just want to do everything, and it's hard to slow them down and stop them. But I try to do the best job I can in trying to make them understand that it's consistency in the long run that's going to pay off.
Right. So what's something you do for yourself? Like what's something that you've actually done to keep yourself consistent and, have it sustain in the long run?
For me personally, right now, would try to juggle the work life and the family life and everything else is try to plan, my days and my weeks ahead of time, in terms of when I'm going to be working out, when I'm going to be taking care of my health and my fitness. And planning is huge, because a lot, like, the next thing you know is you'll just be overwhelmed with your everyday life, and it's going to be really difficult to find the time to exercise. So that's something that I found a little bit challenging with having kids, especially, and not having a ton of time for myself. So I do have to kind of plan it out and schedule it to make sure that I'm staying consistent with it.
Right, because you're not working out with your clients, it doesn't sound like, right? I mean, I think that's
No.
kind of like a common misconception of like personal trainers or,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
coaches or something like that. It's like, well, if you're training your clients, then you're also working out too, or you're working out all the time. But
Yeah.
I mean, at least what I found in my experience is that, you're there to train them. They're not hiring you to be a workout partner
Yeah,
or a buddy,
exactly.
right?
Yep.
But I've known trainers that have worked out with their clients, and it's just, I mean, I guess maybe in certain circumstances, like if you're kind of doing, maybe like a buddy workout, or you're doing something that's like a partner workout,
Mm-hmm.
then that could be beneficial and you're getting a little bit of exercise in there. But you're not there to work out with them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're there to
Yep.
like watch their form and coach them and show them different things. So,
Mm-hmm.
so what's a typical day look like for you then?
My days are a little bit different based on my work schedule and the babysitting schedule, or our daycare schedule with our kids. So our kids go to daycare 2 days a week. And based on my work schedule, which is a little bit different, I usually don't have to to go to work until like 3-4 o'clock to go train my athletes. So some days I stay home with the kids during the day. Some other days when they're in daycare, I have more time during the day. But I usually get up in the morning. I try to get up before my kids get up, so I have a little bit of time to situate myself, make sure I hydrate myself and start moving a little bit, clean up the house before everybody gets up, and start the day.
So you don't
Pack
get
the
your workout
lunches.
in first thing in the morning?
No, I've done that before. It's just these days I get home pretty late at night from work. I get home between 8:30 and 9 at night from work. So by the time I've eaten dinner, it's already 10 o'clock. And if I would be probably cutting pretty short on my sleep if I was going to do it early in the morning with the type of schedule I have right now.
Okay, so you're
But
you're eating pretty late then. I mean, you're waiting until you get home to eat dinner.
yeah, it's not ideal. Actually, I've been trying to find a way around that, because over the summer my schedule was completely different, and I was able to. I would probably get out of work around 4 o'clock, and I'd be home for dinner time with my wife and my kids, and that I like that schedule a lot for that. I
Hmm.
was eating way earlier, had a couple hours before I went to bed, and I would go to bed earlier, and I would be able to wake up earlier as well. But right now I'm like in this transition. I've been transitioning to this later schedule since school started, basically. So I've been trying to play around with different options, different ways of doing things, but I'm having a hard time finding something that really works for eating dinner earlier, because I pack lunch to go to work, and I would have to pack lunch and dinner. That was just a lot of food to bring to work. So I just eat dinner by the time I get home at this point. And yeah, I do feel like it's affecting my sleep a little bit, though.
I think that's the way to go, though, to pack both meals. I mean, if
Yeah.
if they didn't have enough room to keep, in the refrigerator or something like that, depending on what you're bringing to eat, I mean, you could just bring it in like a cooler bag.
Mm-hmm.
Like we bought something from like Costco like months back that would probably be like perfect for that. You just put your containers in there with a couple ice packs. It keeps it cold, and you're good to go. And you could always, if it's something you want to heat like room temperature, just leave it out for a little bit. If depending on what the facility's like, of course. But yeah, I think that might be the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's
Yeah.
what I would try to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I might try that. Yeah.
Because if they don't have a refrigerator, then you got to keep it cold, and it's like you need another option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So cool. So back to so some things that people can do than to sustain the long run, because that's huge, right? I mean, and again, like we said, people are going to be listening to this. People are going to be setting their New Year's resolutions in a few months, and what's something that you can give people? What's advice that you give to your clients? I know you said you try to slow them down, but what's some advice you can give to your clients, or that you can offer people that are listening to this and be like, look, this is a better way to plan, instead of just going all out, balls to the wall, 150%. What's a better way to do it that will set them up to be consistent and turn it into a lifestyle habit, instead of just, a sprint and then, just walk for a long time, then sprint again and then walk for a long time.
Right. Yeah. And just to clarify things, I don't have to slow down everybody. It's the ones who tend to be try to do too much all the time that I have to have that conversation with. But it's not necessarily the majority of them. But I would say, as a general rule, I try to point my clients in the direction that pick one or two habits at a time and try to apply that, and see if you can stick with it. And when you're able to show that you can sustain that for a while, then keep adding on to that, and then you can build on in that way. And then in the long run, you'll have just a lifestyle habit that you're sustaining, and instead of just doing a crash diet that you're going to be falling off in 2 months.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. And what kind of size program do you typically recommend for that? And extra nutrition plan do you recommend for that you see is more sustainable?
I try to get my clients and athletes to eat just whole foods as much as possible, right? Just try and stay away from the processed stuff. A lot of the athletes I work with at the high school and college level, they think packing lunch is bringing a ham and cheese sandwich and having a quote unquote like healthy protein bar on the side with that, and having some crackers or something like that. And I'm super passionate about the health and nutrition things, and I always try to dig deeper to learn more about it. And the more I do that, the more I realize that most people, the reality is that they just need to understand the basics, that they just need to eat more real food. And I think that is a big struggle for a lot of people, because if when you tell them that, bread might not be the best thing for you, and then they're all like, they're falling back on their ass, and they're like, wait, what? Like, what am I going to eat if I don't eat bread? It's like, it's their only source of fuel, especially when it comes
and
to
pasta.
Lunch. It's like,
and pasta. People are like, wait, I can't have bread and pasta. It's like, wait, do you live in a prison? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Is that all you eat anyway? Like,
yeah,
bread and water with a little bit of pasta. Like, you think that's solid diet?
Yeah. So when you tell people that, they're all lost, and they're like, what am I going to eat if I can eat that? So it's like, try to make them realize that there's a lot more out there, and you can have a ton of variety just with, meat, fish, eggs, fruits and vegetables, and all, that kind of stuff. So just trying to get them to understand that. And, when they ask about like, what should I be packing for lunch instead of a sandwich, I'm like, well, what did you have for dinner last night? And a lot of times they'll be eating dinner with their family. So like, the mom will cook, so it's going to be some sort of meat with some rice and vegetables or something like that. I'm like, well, how about, is there any leftover from dinner from last night? How about you pack that for lunch? That would be a way better place to start.
Yeah. I actually recommend that a lot, and I even take it a step further, and I tell people to do the same thing for breakfast, because I like talking about rotation diets, and I think there's a lot of benefit to that. And I've gotten a lot of good success myself and with my clients with rotation dieting, and, basically getting enough variety in your food. And there's a ton of other benefits to it that, that we won't get into right now, but, even preparing your meals and planning your meals and setting yourself up and thinking, like, because some people might say, well, I just had this for dinner. Like, I can't bring that for lunch. It would be too hard. Okay, well, how about start making some dinners that are delicious, that are easy, to make, and then
Yeah.
also easy to bring for lunch, kind
Mm-hmm.
of like stir fries. With the colder weather starting to come in the next couple of months, I'm a huge fan of chili. Like my son absolutely loves chili, and we'll have it
Mm-hmm.
for dinner, lunch, and then also breakfast too. So I
Mm-hmm.
take it a step further, and I have people try to wrap their head around not just only having quote unquote breakfast foods for breakfast.
Right. Yep.
Um, but yeah, I think that's great. And I think one of the other things about sustaining too is that letting people know that they don't have to be perfect, right? Do you ever
Yep.
find this? It's like, people think that they have to be perfect, where like you tell them that they have to cut out bread. They think to themselves, I can never have bread again. And then when they do have bread, then they're just like, oh my God, Dave's going to be so mad at me, or something. So I always give people an alternative. So, I'll use Ezekiel bread myself. We use
Mm-hmm.
fresh sourdough bread because, when you're talking about from like a gluten-free perspective, or, digestive issues and stuff like that, I found that people have less digestive issues with a high quality sourdough bread,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually from in the
Right.
done studies on celiac patients and stuff like that with sourdough. So I don't know if you've come across or heard any of that, but just giving people other alternatives too, instead of just saying like, we'll just have Stroman's white bread, or something like that. Actually,
Yeah.
there's another bread out there, Dave's, right? Dave's like protein bread or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's,
I saw that one recently in the food store actually. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so just giving people alternatives too, and letting people know that there's other options out there. Like, hey, you want to have a burger, that's fine, but make sure that the meat is high quality, and maybe only have half of the bun, or have no bun, and just do a lettuce wrap, or
Yep.
eat it with a fork and a knife, or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. Yep.
Or if you had a really good training day and you've been really good for a while, for the whole week, then you can have a burger here and there. But
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you say that, because a lot of times, like, that's exactly what happens is like after we have that conversation, they'll one of the days after that, they'll come in and they'll have like either like a sandwich for lunch, or they'll have like crackers on the side or something, and be like, oh, Dave's gonna be so mad when you see this. I'm like, that's not the point here. Like, I don't want you to think that I'm gonna be mad at you because you eat this. I want you to understand that that might not be optimal for your body. That might not be the optimal way to fuel yourself. It's not about me being mad at you or giving you crap because you're eating that stuff. It's a little bit past that. I know another situation that happens a lot is that they'll be like, when was the last time you ate bread? I bet you it's like 6 years ago. I'm like, no, you know what? It's I may have had pizza last Friday or something like that.
mhm.
And they'll be like, what, you eat pizza? I'm like, every once in a while. Yeah. It's all a matter of keeping things balanced.
Right. I mean, there's, with social media now, we can see so many people's habits and things like that. And there's some guys, that I've seen on Instagram before, and they're just basically like getting right off of the stage of doing a physique competition. And they're
Mm-hmm.
probably anywhere from, 5, 6, 7% body fat, super, super lean. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
they're getting off. And then in their Instagram story, you see them going to a bakery and then crushing like a box of donuts or a pizza,
Mm-hmm.
or, I mean, obviously like the Rock's diet is, or the Rock's cheat day is all out there has been out there for years, right? He's got a stack of 12 pancakes,
Right.
4 pizzas or something like that it is, and a box of brownies, So, but the thing is that they're still going to be in good shape the next day. Like, is their body going to be like, shit, man, this, like, we don't feel so good after this? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Like, it's not optimal fuel, right? But it's
Yep.
not going to change the way they look overnight.
Yeah.
And the body's efficient. I always tell my clients, it's the body's efficient, but it's not that efficient where all of a sudden you're just packing on 10 pounds of fat overnight, or even 5 pounds of fat overnight. It's like your body's not going to do that. So like, it just becomes mental at that point, and creating this non-symbiotic relationship with food, and looking at it as a source of fuel instead of like this source of evilness that's going to alter the way that we look in
Mm-hmm.
just like this short amount of
Absolutely.
time. It's like, that's not a healthy relationship to have with food, right?
Exactly. And just the idea of, having a cheat meal or a cheat day is like, what are you actually cheating? I think it was Rob Wolf through one of his podcasts or is one of his book that said something like there's no such thing as, a cheat day or a cheat meal. It's you need to understand that everything you put in your body has an effect on your body, and that's the bottom line. There's no such thing as cheating on the diet or cheating on yourself.
That's interesting. I'll have to listen to that one.
Yeah,
So
I like that.
he's basically saying that he never has like a quote unquote cheat day, or he just doesn't call it a cheat day. He
No,
looks
I
at
think
it
he
as a
doesn't.
different way.
Yeah, I think it's more like he sees it in something different. Um, because a lot of times when you will have something that might not be part of your optimal diet, and you'll have a slice of pizza or something like that, then people will kind of be hard on themselves because of that. Be like, oh, I cheat on my diet, and a lot of times like that might be what leads them to just falling off the wagon completely. So you just need to understand that, okay, you did something, you're ingesting something that might not be optimal for your body. It might make you feel a certain way, but it's not the end of the world. You can still focus on your next meal, and you're going to be right back on track. So I think it's more of a he uses it more as a way, a different way to see things, rather than seeing something that you're cheating yourself or cheating your diet.
Yeah, and I've heard other people talk about it as a reward day too. But
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it's like if we're rewarding ourselves, quote unquote, rewarding ourselves, or thinking of it in that way with crap, then what is that really saying about the food that we're trying to eat that's doing good for us, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we're still resenting the stuff that we're putting in our body, because we're basically saying, oh, well, we're rewarding ourselves for doing good. But I just was like, I don't know if I agree with that either. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like,
No. Absolutely.
allow
Yep.
yourself to indulge and have some things that, you know, weren't here 10,000 years ago on Earth, and just chalk it up to, whatever. You're like, you're just having like you said, a pizza or something like that. But just because you had two slices of pizza doesn't mean you have to eat the entire 16-inch or 18-inch
Yeah.
pizza, right? Like, you don't have to go
Exactly.
balls to the
Yep.
wall with that.
Mm-hmm.
You allow yourself to have a couple pieces of pizza and then just move on. Like, it's just pizza, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I think that's good sound advice, I mean, because at the end of the day, we want to stay on that path. We want to stay on that journey and continue to better ourselves. And just because, we fall off, it's not a determining factor, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Because we say, in other areas of everybody else's life, they say if you fall down, it's not about how, hard you fall. It's about how, fast you get, pick yourself back up and, get back at it, or,
Mm-hmm.
falling
Yep.
off the horse and get back on the horse. Right. So it's the same,
Exactly.
we need to apply these kinds of concepts and ideas with lifestyle and diet. It's like, okay, you missed one day of working out. That doesn't mean you missed the entire week. But I
Mm-hmm.
think some people have that 0 to 100 mentality. We're like, oh, well, I missed it today, I might as well just take off the rest of the week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually
Exactly.
had someone tell me one time that they were planning on, we were working on their breakfast, right? And
Okay.
they wanted to change up what they were having for breakfast instead of just the same old thing, and try to incorporate a little bit more protein and fat with the breakfast. So they were planning on having eggs that one morning. They had gone out over the weekend and gotten eggs, and they were planning on having eggs on Monday morning, right? And I don't think it was like the classic, oh, I'm going to start on Monday type deal. It was just that was the next day or whatever.
Okay.
And we had our coaching call. I think it was the next day after that. Maybe it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday. And I said, well, how did the eggs go for breakfast? How did you feel? Did you notice any difference in your energy and all that kind of stuff? And they said, well, I didn't have the eggs. It must have been a Wednesday, because I said, well, how about yesterday? And I said, well, because I didn't have them on Monday, I just figured I'd have them next Monday.
Mm.
And I said, whoa, 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 time out. What the hell are you talking about? Like, did you just hear what you said out loud? You didn't have eggs on Monday, so instead of having them the next day, for whatever reason, they didn't have them on Monday. Instead of having them the next day, you wanted to wait an entire week
Right.
to have eggs that you just bought. It's like, what? I don't understand that, So I
Yeah.
feel like that's that 0 to 100 mentality that,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
then they said to themselves, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, I really just said that out loud. That doesn't make any sense. And they didn't think of it until I said something to them.
Mm-hmm.
But that was completely normal for them. So, I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's about breaking our own patterns and
Yeah.
having that
For
person
sure.
to kind of hold you accountable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, in your opinion, how long does it really take to create a different pattern and to create the consistency and the patience? Like, how long does it take to realistically work on that so that you can sustain in the long run? Like, it's not just 1 month, right? I mean, someone goes, even if they go all out for 1 month, or they're actually, they don't go all out to the extreme, but they're consistent and they stay with it and they have the good mindset, it's going to take longer than a month or 2 months or something like that. So in your opinion, how long does it take to really set yourself up for success, you know, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years from now?
You know what? I think the answer might be a little bit different for everybody, because everybody's going to have a different path with it, and not everybody's going to be able to be successful with their habit modifications.
Mm-hmm.
But going with a couple habits at a time, one or two at a time. Try to see if you can stick with it for 2-3 weeks, however long you feel it you need to feel comfortable with it and feel like it's part of your new routine. Then you start building onto that. I would say it would take you like at least like 4 or 5 months, maybe more. And it's always something that's kind of building upon the last. The next habit is always building upon the last, and it just takes a while. And you got to understand that you're trying to play the long game here. You're trying to look and feel your best, and in 5 years from now and 10 years from now. You're not just trying to win a competition in 3 months from now, and then, all hell breaks loose.
Right. And I tell people too, you have to think you're undoing a lot of stuff too, right? So you're not just trying to create new habits from, you're also trying to undo old habits and rewire those old patterns. So that takes some time too, because if you've been doing, your normal routine for the last 10 years, 20 years, how much time is it going to take to undo 10 or 20 years worth of either bad habits or, things like that. So you have to kind of look at it that way and be realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, tell people a little bit, not a little bit, tell people where they can find out a little bit more about you, and if they want to follow you on social media or your website. Tell people where they can find you.
I'm on Instagram at LaserFitDad, at Twitter at David Lasnier. I have a Facebook page with my business. It's just called LaserFit Personal Training. I have my website called laserfittraining.com. And that's it.
Okay. I think at least on my end, it just like broke up there, but it was laserfittraining.com.
Yes.
And then the spelling for the Twitter, it's David, David, and then Lasnier, it's Lasnier, right?
Yeah. Good to spell it out, because usually people are a little confused with that.
I'd imagine they'd leave out the S. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Dave, as with every episode, we end with 10 questions for our guests inspired by James Lipton and Bernard Pivot. So question number 1, who is your hero?
That's a tough one for me to answer. I don't know that I have one, to be honest. Boring answer, but I just don't know that I have one.
Okay. What excites you?
My kids, seeing them play and grow up, and spending time with my family, just having a ball with that, and helping people get better through my job, helping athletes get better and change their habits and all that stuff, and just seeing them see results. It's really exciting when things click for them, and I can witness that and just be part of helping them go through that process.
Awesome. What turns you off?
Laziness in a way, because there's different ways why you can be lazy, but people who want things but are not willing to put in the effort to get to where they want to get and achieve the goals they want to achieve. And a lot of times, like we've been talking about on this podcast, it's not necessarily going like all out in terms of, doing everything all at once in terms of changing your habits and all that stuff. But sometimes it's just doing one little thing at a time and building upon the last one. And, that that can lead you like to a lot of success down the road. But people who just make excuses and are not doing anything for what they really want to achieve, that turns me off a little bit.
Okay. What's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound. That's going to be very Canadian of me, but probably the sound of ice skates on the ice.
Nice. What's your least favorite sound?
My alarm clock.
What's your favorite quote or saying?
Favorite quote. I don't know. I don't know if I have one.
Okay.
Nothing comes to mind, at least.
Okay. In a couple words, what should a dad be?
A dad should be present. Should be there for his kids. Should be involved in their life. Should be taking care of them, and understanding that those little human beings just need the support and the love, and they need to feel that from their dad, and they need to be there for them.
In a couple words, what should a dad not be?
I guess it's just going to be the opposite of the answer I just gave, is absent, not being there for them.
Mm-hmm. If you could try any other profession, what would it be?
Firefighter, I think.
Firefighter?
Yeah.
Nice. And finally, what would you like to be remembered for?
Just somebody who cared a lot for his family and for the people he's worked with, and somebody who was always there to help.
Awesome. David, thank you so much for hopping on the show. Again, if you anybody listening wants to learn more about David, his programs, follow him on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's laserfittraining.com is the website. LaserFitDad on Instagram. David Lasnier, which again is spelled Lasnier on Twitter. And then Facebook again was what? LaserFit Personal Training.
Which one was that? Sorry.
Facebook?
Facebook, yeah. It's LaserFit Personal Training.
Awesome.
Jem, thanks a lot for the opportunity. Really appreciate that. It was great.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Thanks. You too.
Hey, guys. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Warrior Dads podcast. If you like this podcast and want to support it, please subscribe, leave comments, and share it with someone you think would benefit from listening as well. Thanks again, and keep on being a warrior dad.